Hello, I'm back after what feels like a very long time, probably because it has been a very long time, and I am joined by a special guest. I believe I mentioned in another video, I think it was the Civil War jacket video, that I have a needy parrot, and I would like you to meet Bird. Oh, are you going berserk? Okay, this is Bird. Yeah. His full name is Jules Bird. I thought it was terribly clever when I named him. I had just read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Yeah, he's my baby, and I love him. But as much as I would like to talk about Bird for 15 or 20 minutes, this video is not about him. I just thought I'd introduce him to you. This video is about... I can cut around some of that. This video is about this coat. This is a duster coat from around between 1905 and 1910, possibly as late as 1912, but probably a bit earlier than that. It is made entirely out of silk and is, there we go, machine stitched, and it has these lovely little decorative bits of piping here. So, duster coats, I'm gonna remove my bird poop shawl and I'll put on the coat. No, I don't want you to be on my pet during the people thing. Duster coats were around. They were around in the 1880s, but they really came into their own in the early 1900s and really became what we know of them, what we know them as today in the early 1900s. In the 1880s, there was something that you would wear on a train to keep all of the soot off of you. But in the early 1900s, people started to have cars. And if you think of a car from the early 1900s, I can put a picture of one on here briefly. They were open. So you'd be driving along in the dust, and of course you're wearing your beautiful, lacy, silky Edwardian dress that you can't wash. So what are you going to do to keep it clean? Well, you need to get a simple coat that you can wear over it. So all of the dust will get onto this coat and not onto your dress, hence the term duster. They still make dusters today, although cars tend to be enclosed now, so they're not really used for driving. I don't really know what they use them for today. But dusters aren't incredibly common, like antique ones aren't incredibly common from the early 1900s, because they were used pretty much for driving, because by the early 1900s, trains tended to be more enclosed, so you didn't really need them on the train. But not very many people could afford cars. I've read somewhere that a car in 1900 cost the equivalent of a private jet nowadays. So it was an incredibly expensive thing to own, and it was something only the super rich had. So not very many people had reason to have a duster, because not very many people had cars. But I just think it's a very interesting garment, and it's very indicative of the early 1900s, just the way that it's done. I'm gonna stand with my back to the camera on tiptoes. The way that these buttons come, it's almost militaristic, the way that it's tailored. And that's just very indicative of the early 1900s and of women's clothing taking on masculine elements. The 1890s is sort of the first time when you start to see tailored women's suits. And that really took off in the early 1900s, and you can definitely see that in this coat with the military style tailoring in the back. Of course the sun chooses to come out right now. Military style tailoring back here and on the cuffs, and also with the lapel. It's a relatively masculine garment. And there were dusters for men as well, although they tended to be less decorative or decorated than this one. This was Also made for a woman who is slightly more buxom than I am, but it was meant to be a very loose-fitting garment, so that doesn't really matter a whole lot. Like much of the clothing from the early 1900s, a lot of the beauty of this duster is in the visible top stitching. They've really used that to their full advantage, having these seams right here and here. They're using them as a form of decoration. And also this funny little bit of embroidery here and here. And again, with the back, the way that they've done this and have these seams done, it's really its own form of decoration, and that's something that's very indicative of the early 1900s, and to a certain extent quite unique to the early 1900s. I can't really think of any other time in history where the structural stitching has been used to as a form of decoration in its own right. So I believe that's all that I want to say about this duster. This was a short video, but I have some relatively big news. I am studying abroad in Denmark, Copenhagen, for the next 4 months. I'm going on January 11th, and I'm going to be there until late May, which is very exciting. I'm not sure how many videos I'll be able to make when I'm in Copenhagen, but that's one of the dogs in the background there, Lucy. I'm not sure how many videos I'll be able to make when I'm in Copenhagen, but since I don't make any currently, or I don't make very many of them currently, not likely to be a whole lot of difference since my uploading pattern is so irregular. It's not like it can become more irregular. But I'll do my best to keep on making videos. I'm not sure how much of my antique clothing I can bring, but I can make more movie costume videos, and there are a few things that I want to say about the general perception of Victorian and Edwardian women in popular culture, and I'd just like to touch on that briefly, so I might do that when I'm in Denmark, since I don't really need any props for that, or nothing that I can't, pictures that I can put on the internet would suffice. Yeah. So, I hope you enjoyed this short video. If you have any questions or comments about this coat, or about dusters in general, or about anything else, please let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. And I will make an effort to see you guys soon. I do have some other videos that include props that I am planning on uploading before I go to Denmark, because I don't have schoolwork to handle right now. I have some more free time on my hands. So I hope to see you guys soon. Bye!